Hey, what's up, everybody? It's been a minute, but it's good to be back. This particular cue is a fusion of like Wild West and Disney. I know, right? It's a little weird, but y'all know how we do. We'll take a listen to it and then we'll talk about it on the flip. All right, let's go. Okay, so there it is. It's called Above the Clouds. And as I said, it is a fusion of Wild West, say in the style of like a Bruce Broughton, who did Silverado, and then kind of, that Disney kind of sing song feel. Once we get to the B section, it becomes a little more melodic and a little more sing song like. So let's just kind of talk about the cue, kind of get inside of it a little bit. So it starts, very simply, just a very quick string woodwind and harp run with a suspended cymbal right at the top. So it's just real simple, and that's just to get us into the cue. And typically, I think I've shown you guys before, but what I'm using for my run, so I have this flute and piccolo runs, and then these clarinet and oboe runs, and then just quickly, what I'm using there is the colors adaptive runs. As you see, I just have it set, here. Um, so you can set your beats there. So I have it set to one beat, and then you see my mix is just basic. So I don't really do any too much to it. Just kind of leave it where it is. If anything, put some reverb on it if I want to create a little more space. But colors adaptive runs is great. So something to definitely check out. And then with my string runs, just the same. So just set to a beat, and you see I'm using violin runs, and yeah, pretty basic, and on a major scale, and then going up. And of course, you could have it set where you use the CC to control whether it goes up or down, or you use velocity, I should say, to control whether it's major or minor, and then you can use your CC1 to control whether it goes up or down. But I just like to pretty much set it, and say if I had one that was going down, I would just do another instance and have those going down. It's the way, kind of the way that I like to do things. Yeah, and then for my harp, I'm just using the BBC harp and just the sustain, and I don't think, I didn't do anything to the mic positions, just have that at a mixed mic position. So yeah, pretty basic there. And if we play a harp as well, just real simple. So that's it. And of course, the suspended cymbal, and you guys know what that sounds like. So, and so this opens with a solo horn and a bassoon with the melody, and then we support that with some woodwinds, low brass, some low strings, timpani, and well, some other percussive elements. But the kind of that blend of the horn, and I'm just using a legato horn on this one. So it's just the solo horn legato from Cinebrass, and I'm just using the full mix. And then for the bassoon, that's the bassoon, and I'm using the legato extended articulation, and it is in BBC as well. And you see I am using mix 2 for this particular one here, and then those two together. Okay, so that's what you have. And then I have on the second half of it, I have the horn ensemble come in just to give it a little more presence. And that's our kind of the introduction of the theme, if you will. And then, as I said, just some basic support from our woodwinds. So that's pretty much everything that's happening with the woodwinds there. And then I do have like my trombones kind of, and I'll play the tuba as well. And the bass trombones are the other support, melodic support, harmonic support, if you will. Right, and pretty much I'm using a lot of BBC for like my brass and stuff in this one. So the BBC bass trombone, the BBC tenor trombone as well. And then you see I'm just using one tenor trombone, and because I'm playing chords, I typically, when I'm playing chords with my trombones, I'll just use just the one as opposed to using the 3 trombones, because say then if you have 3 trombones, you play a 3-note chord. So now you got like 9 trombones. So I'll just use one trombone. If I'm playing a 3-note chord, typically is what I'm using my trombones for. So now I have 3 trombones, as opposed to it just getting too big. So just something to think about if you're playing chords with your brass instruments. You might want to use some solo articulations or something like that, solo, as opposed to multiple, unless you're going for like a, super big, type of sound or something like that. So something to consider or something to think about. Okay. So, then, outside of that, we have just some timpanis and things of that nature. Just kind of in this front part, but nothing real big. So here, like the shaker. Okay, and that is everything for our first section. So if we put all that together. So you hear when we get into that second half of the theme, you hear this kind of aggressive counter melody start to come up from our high woodwinds and our trumpets, and then the strings make it even more chaotic with some pretty brisk arpeggios. But hopefully with all that going on, you can still hear that melody kind of singing over the top of it. So just to kind of show you some of the things. So the woodwinds, so when we get to that section there, so the woodwinds are playing this kind of aggressive, and let me just play those for you that are playing it. So we have like the clarinet short and the oboe short. That pretty much are playing this. So we have that going on. And then what our trumpets are doing here. So you have that, and you see a lot of triplets and things of that nature going on. And then the strings come in as well with I said, like, these arpeggios that are pretty brisk. All right, so let's just play those strings so you can really hear it. They may be a little buried, but they definitely add to, the color and to the intensity of the section. So. So, and then if we add the just the bottom, the basses in with them. So you see there, and then the percussion builds a little bit in this section as well. So when we get there, and then so the percussion kind of layers in a little more. And then if we put all that together. And so you see, we come out of all that, and that's why I say it's like a fusion. So that first half really feels Wild Westy, you see the guys on the horses, kind of going and, going to that flat seven and just that real kind of Americana feeling, vibe to it. And then we quickly shift when we get to the bridge into more long tones. Now the trombones are playing chords supported by some longer tones in the low brass, and the strings and drums really kind of settle in now. So one thing, we always want to use some type of transitional elements, to kind of move us into sections. And really, it is the suspended cymbal and the harp that really kind of get us into this B section. So if you just listen to how we get into the B section, pay particular attention to the suspended cymbal and the harp as it kind of leads us into this B section. And And then, of course, that high woodwind run as well kind of gets us in there. So now when we get to this section, so as I said, so the main thing is obviously the theme. So we have, I think, our cellos and our horns that start us off with the theme, and probably do I have a bassoon as well? I have a clarinet as well. So in terms of our theme, when we get to this particular section, and I do have the bassoons as well, but I did add a clarinet. All right, so we have clarinet, bassoon, and cello. And I think I probably have this light ensemble on cello, but let's see. So that's our full ensemble. So, and you see light ensemble. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically just trying to give my cellos some additional support. So I used a light ensemble as well, just put that on cello, and you see I have on concertino. And then it just helps give us just a little more with the cellos, and then of course the horn, or kind of singing through that melody as well. Okay, so let's see. So you hear the melody, and one thing you hear that I think is always pretty important, some people call it a pickup, but you hear how they didn't just go, right to da 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 da, but ba da da da, just something to lead us into that next section. So I think that that's always important to have something like that. Now, in this particular section, the motor, because we do want to keep a motor going, and it's really the high strings which are playing this descending scale, and I do have and then a clarinet and a flute which are playing ascending and descending as well, with some staccato support from oboes and bassoons. So but let's check out like the strings and kind of what they're doing, the high strings excuse me, and what they're doing in this particular section here. So really just, scales, they're just running scales against that, that melody. So if you listen to like the cellos, against that. So there we go. And I'm using a marcato just to get a little more definition from the strings there. And then, as I said, the clarinet and the I think it's flute are playing these scales kind of against that as well. And you may not really be able to hear it, because obviously it's clarinet and flute, so they're not going to be dominant, but so yeah. And here I think I'm using the BBC. Yeah, I think the BBC clarinet sounds like great, in this particular regard. And I'm just using the mix as well. But yeah, so we have those elements going on. And then what we do for some additional support is we have some staccato support from our oboe, right? Our bass clarinet and our bassoon, kind of giving us this chordal staccato support. And then you have these muted trumpets that are kind of answering, if you will. So we have. So, you have all these different supportive elements kind of working together. So then when you put that all together, you get that real sing-songy, type of vibe. And so the first half of the melody, as I said, is carried by the horns and bassoons, cello and clarinet, right? And then on the second half of it, I just want you to listen how we kind of elevate the melodic idea just a little more, because we add trumpet and we add high strings and glockenspiel just to elevate it. So let's check out the first half of it, and then listen how when we get into the second half of it, how it elevates just a bit as we add those higher elements to it. So you hear how we just continue just to build that theme to get us back into the A section. So when we layer in, when we get to the second half of the B section, so one thing that we're doing is I'm using a legato trumpet to kind of help us there. And that trumpet, I think that's the, excuse me, the center brass trumpet solo, true legato, man. And I think that really, really sounds nice. So you hear that paired with our high string. So with the light ensemble, we know it's the cello. So, but our high strings here. Right? Oh, that's just really, I think, really pretty. And then, of course, adding the glockenspiel, that really adds a nice sparkle on the top of everything. And then one thing we don't want to forget about is, while all that is going on, we still have those beautiful harp glissandos kind of, rolling through that. So just listen just for what the harp adds. It's not overbearing or anything, but, that harp glissando with those woodwind runs, they just really add a nice little effect. right there, just real subtle, but you could just hear that harp right there in the background. So now as we transition to kind of get back into the A section of the piece, I want you to hear how probably about 2 bars before we get into the A section, what I do is I utilize the percussion to really kind of ramp us back up into that A section. So I'll start maybe just a couple of bars before that. So you'll hear how the percussion's kind of settled in. And then as we start to make our push back into the A section, how you feel the intensity build with our percussion. So there, what we have, if we just play our percussion for you right there so you can hear what they're doing. So there you hear it. You just hear how that builds. And, you know, we have our military drum. We're using a 36-inch bass drum from Cineperg. Of course, we have a timpani crescendo that happens in there. Our shakers are pretty much, chugging along. We got a tambourine. Just little subtle things that really help the cue, things you may not think about, some shakers and a tambourine. But now that I mentioned shakers and tambourine, I'm just going to play a couple of bars for you. Listen to how those things really add to the cue. So now listen for those. Listen for the shaker. Listen for the tambourine. Very subtle, but it definitely adds to the overall feel of the cue. So then we just push like back into the A section. So I'm just going to show you how we push back into the A section. Pretty much the same. This particular cue is really just a ABA structure, or AABBAA, structure, but just ABA, real simple, kind of structure. I mean, we do our A section, we do our B section, we get back to the A section, and we get out of the cue. So I just want to show you how we get back into the A section, and then I'll just show you what we did on the ending. So back in, like I said, and it's pretty much the same thing, with the theme or whatever. So one thing I did not show you is what I am using for my bass. I'll just play a little bit of that. It's just my sub bass. I shouldn't say bass. So our orchestral bass is. Which I love, legendary low strings, and it's the epic legato that I'm using. But I always support my orchestral bass with I'll add additional sub bass to it as well. Just. So just a little additional bottom end support to kind of fill out that, really that kind of 60 hertz and down. This kind of really helps fill out that area or the orchestra that typically, your orchestral basses are not going to be able to fill out for you. So that's really the reason behind using that there. So the only other thing that we really need to talk about is when we get to the ending here. So when we get to the ending, I'm doing something which I'm sure that you guys have heard before, but it's called planing. And it's just, I do the planing over, and it's when chords just kind of change over a common tone. So I'm planing over B flat, and I do B flat to B to C to D flat. Then I go to the 5 chord for us to end. So just in terms of hearing what the planing is, just listen. So you'll hear a constant B flat tone, and you'll hear chords moving over that tone. So let's check that out. So here I'd stayed on the B flat, and then on the last one it moved to the 5 chord, bop, 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 before we ended. Now basically what is happening as we're playing, so our cellos, our low short strings, and our bass are pretty much playing the pedal tone, if you will, so that B flat. Right? And then I have, well, we'll just add them in. So we have the strings doing a kind of arpeggios over that. So just a simple, you know, it sounds, it sounds real deep, you know, but really, it's nothing but spelling out the chords. You know, it just sounds, and let me move that over. So let's go like that so you can really see it there. So there you go. I just wanted to make sure you could really see it. Yeah, so we have that, right? Just spelling out the chords there. The trombones, so our, you know, of course, our tuba and our bass trombones are doing the same exact thing that our low strings are doing. And then the trombone shorts are kind of just spelling out the chords, but short. So they're just spelling out the chords. The short trombones, you hear them just moving. So the lower ones are playing, playing the low tone, the pedal tone, and then the trombones, the tenor trombones, are playing over that. And then our trumpets. So our trumpets are also playing over, but we're just using a different rhythm. So to make it interesting, so everybody's not doing the same exact thing. So it just makes it a little more interesting. Our low woodwinds pretty much are playing the same exact thing as our low brass and our low strings, just adding some additional support there. The piccolo and the flute are playing the same thing as the high strings. So you hear that. You say, well, we can't even hear the flute and piccolo. Yeah, I know. But they're there, so. So pretty much doing the same thing that our strings are doing there. And then our, I think we got to, and then the horns are just playing like this, sort of this counter line against that. So they're just playing a line. So if you hear the chords, and we'll just do that. So there you go. And then the only other thing is, what is our percussion doing? So boom, 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 and we just add like a snare roll and a timpani roll on that 5 chord, and then everybody's hitting on the bump, 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 bump. So I mean, that is really kind of it. So the question is, guys, as I said, this was a fusion of like Wild West kind of meets Disney. So, what do you guys think? I don't know, did we pull it off? Okay. Hopefully there was something in here, some techniques or something that helped you in terms of, figuring out, how you can merge different genres together and still make them work. How to maybe, utilize your arpeggios, how to use different articulations in areas to make things still sound interesting, etc. And then, of course, different pairings of the instruments for colors, etc. So, as always, I hope that this video was helpful to you. I hope you got something out of it. And I really appreciate you stopping by. If you did like what you heard, please please subscribe. I know sometimes my writing styles are, I might do some orchestral stuff, then I might do some hip hop stuff, or some, epic stuff. But, I just kind of, want to share what it is that I write. It's not always the same. So I hope it's something here, for you. And if this is not your cup of tea, I'm sure there's something on the channel that may work for you. So again, thanks so much for stopping by and checking me out. And until next time, peace.